Get out! That was the first thing Laura Scott screamed, her voice slicing through the quiet like a siren, just as I was dragging my very first box across the porch of what was supposed to be my peaceful new home. I'd barely put a foot on the welcome mat, if you could call it that, with weeds pushing through the boards and the paint sun-faded to almost nothing before she was storming up the walk, waving a leather folder over her head like a cop's badge. I wish I could tell you I was surprised, but truth is, I'd been warned about people like her. What she didn't know, she was about to lose everything, and man, did she have it coming. You ever been thrown into a fight before you even got your boots off? Yeah, that happened. Name's Jake Rogers, 42, used to be your classic city guy. AT consulting, late nights, takeout dinners, and enough saved up to finally put down some real roots. I inherited this little cedar-sided cottage on Lake Maplewood from my Grandma Rose. God rest her stubborn soul. Place looks like something out of a postcard wraparound porch, creaky boards, a dock that barely stays above water after a heavy rain, and memories that stick to the walls like old fishing hooks. My wife, Tracy, she's the real deal, a high school teacher who can quiet a whole classroom with just a look, and now she's pregnant with our first kid, craving peace and some air that doesn't smell like exhaust and city sweat. So we roll in with a rental truck thinking our hardest challenge will be getting the mattress up the stairs without busting a window. But no, here comes Laura, the self-appointed queen of the Oak Ridge HOA, hair set in that helmet blonde, bob arms folded so tight her watch is about to pop. She doesn't even bother to fake a welcome, just launches right into her routine, demands for dues, threats of fines, her voice so sharp it makes the neighbors freeze on their driveways. She shoves a fat envelope into my hand, says I owe $270,000 in annual dues. I nearly drop my box. That's more than my first house cost, I say, figuring she's joking. She doesn't even blink. Now, my grandma never paid a dime to any HOA. She owned this house for 3 decades, kept every receipt, every deed. I tell Laura, "You got the wrong house." She just about vibrates with rage, waves her paperwork around, and threatens to call the cops. I barely have time to argue before I hear Tracy gasp. She's doubled over, clutching her belly, pale as the lake fog at dawn. My world stops. I drop everything, scoop her up, ignore Laura shrieking. She's faking it into her phone and race her to the ER. That car ride, I can barely remember the turns. Just my hands shaking on the wheel, the cold fear in Tracy's eyes, the thought that I might lose everything before we even started. Long night in a plastic hospital chair. Doctors say the baby's okay. Bed rest, zero stress, doctor's orders. Tracy squeezes my hand, gives me that look that says, "Don't let her push you around. She's a colonel's daughter, tough as old nails," but I see it in her face. Laura crossed a line. By the time I'm back home, the neighborhood's buzzing. Mike Clark, neighbor 2 doors down, catches me in the driveway. She does this to everyone, he says, showing me a video of Laura screeching at her phone while I was hauling Tracy to the car. Red lanterns. Christmas lights, you name it, she finds a reason to fine you. There's fire in his eyes. But folks are tired of it, Jake. Not everyone's on her side. That's when I start to wonder, maybe Laura's little empire isn't as solid as she thinks. Next morning, Laura's back, this time with her nephew Derek, a linebacker type, but nervous eyes on his shoes. Laura starts with the threats, throwing around words like loopholes and outsiders. I almost laugh. She just admitted she knows my house might not even be under her rule. I hold my ground, tell her flat out, I'm not signing anything. Derek looks like he wants to speak up, but doesn't. That sticks with me. The whole day I see whispers ripple through the block. At the coffee shop, the barista won't even make eye contact. Turns out Laura's called an emergency HOA meeting. Mike shows up with a 6-pack, says, "You've gone viral, man." People are mad, half want to tear down the HOA, half are terrified because they've been paying her for years. Derek knocks at my door that evening, guilt written all over his face. "She doesn't give you much choice," he says quietly. Be careful. She doesn't lose gracefully. At the HOA meeting, the community center is packed, nerves hanging thick in the air. Laura struts in, binder clutched like a weapon, slams down a pile of papers and starts shouting about outsiders and frauds. She holds up paperwork, waving it like she's about to exorcise the devil. But I see the mistake. Her precious document says Maplewood Avenue, not Drive. I point it out. Neighbors gasp. Someone in the back says that's across the highway. Laura's face goes pale, tries to play it off as a typo, but people are starting to murmur. Cracks appear in her armor. But she's not done, slaps a manila envelope on the podium, claims she has the original charter. I step up with Grandma's deed, shows the property line is 6 inches outside the HOA boundary. Neighbors pass it around, whispers get louder, people realize she's been bluffing for years. Laura snaps, yells for Derek to call the cops. I head home knowing she'll drag the real police out next. Sure enough, that night there's a heavy knock. 2 officers' badges shining, Laura standing on the curb yelling, "Arrest the trespasser." I hand over my paperwork and the older cop says, "This matches county records." Laura loses it, screaming that I forged it. The officers calmly file a report, then whisper to me, "Don't let her push you around." As they leave, Tracy's in the doorway, doubled over again. Another rush to the hospital, paramedics flashing lights, neighbors whispering, Laura still shrieking that we're faking everything. One paramedic mutters, "What's wrong with that woman?" "Yeah, I wish I knew." Tracy recovers, but that's it for me. No more playing defense. I dig into Grandma's old files, find the survey map, the boundary, every bit of proof. I show Mike, who whistles low. "She's got nothing on you. If people see this, she's finished." Next day, Laura leaves a $2,700 invoice taped to my door in red marker. "Last warning, Jake." She thinks she's still got leverage. Derek keeps hanging around, looking more and more like a guy about to jump off a sinking ship. The next HOA meeting is chaos. Laura tries to broadcast live, parading her evidence. I stand up, plug Derek's USB drive into the projector. Every transfer, every forged invoice, every dollar she siphoned from the community is there in black and white. The crowd erupts. Neighbors shout about playgrounds, never fixed landscaping bills for work that never happened. Laura screams, "You're all ungrateful. I built this place," but the room's turned against her. Derek finally stands up to her. "You betrayed us. I'm done covering for you." And that's when the sheriff steps in, reads the charges, embezzlement, fraud, misuse of funds. Laura thrashes, shouts that she's the real victim, but no one's listening anymore. They load her into the cruiser, Pearl swinging, and that's the end of the Queen of Oak Ridge. Except, it never really ends that clean. In the days after, neighbors compare notes, find out how deep Laura's scams went. $10,000, roof repairs that never happened, assessments for community projects that lined her pockets. Derek admits he helped, scared for his job, but now he's trying to make things right. Mike's videos go viral, the whole world watching one HOA queen go down in flames. Tracy, finally home, sits beside me on the porch and says, "Looks like the queen lost her crown." I squeeze her hand, feeling for the first time a little bit of peace. But in Laura's old files, I keep finding one name, Maplewood Holdings. Not just Laura, but outside signatures, expansion plans, money, moving in the hundreds of thousands. Derek tells me Laura used to mutter about contacts and protection people who made her feel untouchable. A few nights later, a black SUV idles at the curb, lights off, engine rumbling. Mike stands in his yard filming neighbors peeking out, but the SUV just sits there like a shadow, reminding us that this isn't over. The next day, a plain envelope lands in my mailbox. "Maplewood Holdings isn't finished with you." Just 7 words, but enough to chill me to the bone. Tracy reads it, her eyes fierce. "Don't fight them head on. Make sure everyone sees the truth." Derek shows up, scared but determined. She was just a pawn. There are bigger players. Mike says, "Go public, drown them in sunlight." I stand on the dock that night, lake rippling under the moon, thinking of Grandma Rose. The lake remembers everything. Maybe she was right. Maybe the fight's just begun. So let me ask you, what would you do if you knew the fight wasn't over? If justice for one bully just drew bigger shadows to your door? Drop a comment. Tell me if you've ever faced down a bully or if you'd stand your ground when the shadows start circling. And hey, if this story hit home, give it a like, share it, and let the world know what justice really looks like. Because sometimes standing up is just the beginning